I'm gonna be very blunt. I am not happy at all. I never planned on making videos like this on my channel. And while I strongly dislike having negative content on my channel, I feel like it's necessary at this point. I feel like talking about this situation is important, because as much as I'd love to just focus on the positive things and just make videos about happy things and try and be funny, I can't just sweep this under the rug and pretend like it didn't happen and it didn't affect me. I feel like I need to speak up and say things that I am not seeing anyone else say. I am extremely disappointed in Melanie Martinez. I was a huge fan of her for years. Ever since the beginning, ever since she just got out of The Voice, I became a huge fan of hers. I just completely fell in love with her music. And the other day, these allegations were made by one of her friends. It didn't seem real. I tried to just stay out of it because it felt like it wasn't my business. So I didn't go searching for anything. I didn't look for anything. I wasn't looking for information, but I had heard these allegations and I just treated them as rumors, because at this point I had never fully seen the explanation of what had happened, and it was all just people talking. And then I just took a break for hours. I didn't go on my phone. I didn't go on my computer. I just stayed silent. I didn't look at anything. I wasn't searching for anything, and I tried to just push it out of my mind. But when I went back, it was more prominent than it was before. And I realized that I couldn't ignore it anymore. And it was so heartbreaking to hear what had happened. And I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want it to be true, because I had cared so much about this person that didn't even know that I exist. I had cared so much about her music and about her just as a person. I just really wanted to support her so much because I had been a fan of her for so long. And I didn't want to believe these things that I was seeing. That day that, it all started, that night was awful. I had a horrible night of sleep. I felt sick physically. I was nauseous, and I couldn't keep my mind off of it. It was the only thing I could think about, and I kept distracting myself. And I was trying to draw, and I was trying to just, be in my happy place, but it was the only thing that I could really think about. Because at this time, I just didn't want to focus on these negative things, because at the time, Melanie had never addressed it. She had never commented or replied or anything. She had never made any counterclaim, nothing. And I just figured, you know what, I'm not gonna have an opinion until she says something. And then today she releases her counterclaim, saying exactly what I hoped she wasn't going to say. I remember when I first stumbled across her page on Spotify and listening to the only tracks that she had out, which, were ones from The Voice, and she had just released Dollhouse or something. And it was the very, very beginning of her career, since she had gotten after she had really gotten exposure from being on The Voice. And I remember just listening to her songs and loving them and thinking that she had such a talented voice. And I remember thinking that she was so talented and that she had so much potential. And then I waited, and I continued to listen to what she had out, which were songs like Bittersweet Tragedy, and whatever else she had on there, whatever it was that were, you know, it was like her first ever EP. And, you know, I would listen to those, and then I would wait, and then eventually Crybaby came out, and I was really excited, and I listened to it, and I loved it. And for the longest time, I loved that album. And I would watch interviews with her, and I would watch all her music videos, and, you know, I went and I bought her merch, and I loved it. It was so much fun being a part of this fan base and being a part of this group. And then out of nowhere, people are talking about this thing that happened, and it just sounds like rumors. It doesn't sound like anything that has actually happened. It sounds like the BS that you hear and see on the front page of a magazine that's on your way out from that's on the aisles of on the grocery store, that's just trying to grab you in with some like clickbait title. And it didn't seem like something that had actually happened. And then I saw the actual message that was sent, that was posted on Timothy's Twitter, and it was really heartbreaking to read. It was really painful just to continue reading it. And the first time I found it, I couldn't even read it all the way because it hurt so much. It was really hard to put out of my mind. It was really hard to just try and go to sleep. It was really hard because it hurt physically and emotionally. Because here was this artist who I had loved and who I had followed for years. And then they do something like this, that's explained and shown in broad detail. You know, this has been really hard, I think, on everyone. There's so much hate and negativity going around. So many people are posting videos of them destroying the merch that they've bought from her. So many people are sending her death threats and saying so much negativity and hate. I do not recommend that you support her, nor do I recommend that you send her death threats. I think that in general, we just kind of need to take a time out for a moment. Because when these things happen, we need to take a hard look at the things and the people that we are praising. I think we really need to reflect on these things and have a real discussion about it. Because the truth of the matter is that sexual assault happens a lot more than we think it does. And we need to stop idolizing people who we think are perfect, because the truth is they're not, and they do things like this. Because we have this super corrupted and messed up view of how celebrities work and how unpopular people are, and we think that just because of what they show on the surface is how they are as human beings. In interviews and in videos of her, she is just this total ball of sunshine, and she's always super happy and positive and deep. That's why it came as such a shock to so many people finding out that this had happened, because no one ever would have expected sweet little Melanie to do something like this. We need to take a step back. We need to talk about these things. And though it may seem obvious, we really need to talk about what's right and what's wrong. And just because they're artists and just because they're creators doesn't mean that we should still support the art or the creation of that person. You know, right now we're just kind of in this rough patch. And everybody's just kind of shaken by all of this. But, you know, I have faith that it's going to get better. I know it will.